Blaine, welcome to the Dating Intentionally podcast. I'm so excited to hear. I've been following you since I started my account, and I just love all of your advice. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk to you.
Yeah, you were when I knew I was gonna have guests on, you were like at the top of my list because I'm like, okay, she works with men. She has all these answers for the ladies who follow me. So this will be great. But my first
I love
question
it.
for you is a hinge prompt, just to kind of break the ice here. And it is I go crazy for.
Oh, I go crazy for waking up before the sun, cacao lattes, and hot yoga in the mornings.
Okay, that sounds so amazing.
That was my morning
But
this
wait,
morning, so it was top of mind.
do you do the cacao latte before or after yoga?
Today I did it before. It was like kind of like my breakfast. I didn't have breakfast till after yoga, so I had the cacao first.
Oh my, and are you like a 4 a.m. riser, 5
Oh
a.m.?
my
Like
gosh,
what?
no. It was like at 6:30. I was like with the sun at the very
Okay, with
best.
this
But
up.
like when I was in Europe 2 weeks ago, so when I got back, I was like all jet lagged. So I was waking up at 5 and I was like, I'm such a good person. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. I'm so accomplished. And then like my jet lag went away and now I'm like, okay, it's like 6:30.
Yeah,
I can get it. I can do it. I can get out of bed. So
there's really nothing like that post-trip jet lag
I know. I
boost.
know. Sometimes it works in your favor.
Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing that. I love that. Very inspiring. Well, speaking of inspiring, what made you want to start being a dating coach for men specifically?
Yeah, so I started my business in 2020 during the pandemic. I worked in the travel industry before that, and I found myself unemployed. And, no one was traveling, of course, in 2020. So I thought, okay, is there something else I can do that in the meantime? I didn't see this as necessarily like a forever thing. It was just like, okay, what's something I can do right now to make money and fill my time? And I had given a lot of my guy friends advice on their dating app profiles and just how to understand women better, how to plan dates, anything related to their dating life, they'd come to me. And so I thought, I'm giving a lot of the same advice over and over. What if I just package this into a course and I offer it to more men? And, I feel like these are things all men could benefit from. So I launched my first course, and turns out guys really do need tips, and some are very eager for tips and that feedback as well. So yeah, it grew from there. And I feel also by helping men, I'm inherently helping women, because a lot
Yes.
of these guys are really great guys, but they just don't quite know how to relate to women or communicate with them. So helping bring more people together is most fulfilling career I could ask for.
I love that. And I agree. I mean, what specifically are your clients coming to you for? Like, where are those core issues?
There's a lot. So, one for starters is just the willingness to put themselves out there, to stick their neck out. So, that often translates to just getting in front of more women, approaching more women, talking to more women, taking risks. I conducted some survey data of over 2,000 women and asked, do you want to be approached more in real life? And I knew the numbers would be high, but 95% responded that they wish they were approached more in person. And
Yeah.
so just convincing men that, one, this is something not all women are going to want, but the ones that don't want it, okay, ignore them. But a lot of women do want, and then giving them the tools of like how to meet more women and how to approach them. So that's one thing. In terms of online dating, men are atrocious at picking photos that are good of themselves. They typically pick
You can
very
confirm.
bad.
You've
Yeah,
seen probably thousands of profiles of men.
truly thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands. And not I've seen thousands, and not a single one of these thousands of profiles I've seen, I've said, "Oh, it looks good. Keep it exactly like you have it." There is always room for improvement. So that's like
Oh,
really low-hanging fruit that guys need help with. And then lastly, I'd say like the third thing that comes up a lot is just helping them understand what women are looking for and what women want. And that goes into also communicating with women, planning dates,
okay.
executing on dates. So a lot of
Well,
just
you're
translating.
you're truly doing God's work. That's amazing. So, what are some of the surprising things you've learned, like since 2020, like about how men approach dating? What are they doing? What's their approach?
I primarily work with two different types of clients, or a lot of my clients fall into one of two categories. And this is obviously a generalization, but they really have different struggles and are approaching different dating differently. The first is who I lovingly call the engineer. He may or may not be an engineer actually, but he usually works in a technical field, tends to be an overthinker, overanalyzer, usually very intelligent, has a lot going on in his personal life, and wants his dating life to catch up. And this guy is often either stuck between not knowing what action to take or overthinking every action he takes and just getting like very confused and maybe even going like trying really hard to date, but doing the wrong stuff to the wrong advice. And then the second client I see a lot of is the divorcee who's either freshly out of either a long-term relationship or a divorce and is just like, I have no idea where to even begin. And he's honestly easier to work with because he comes to me as a clean slate and is like, I don't know what I'm doing. Tell me what to do. Where oftentimes the former has like already tried a lot of stuff and is like feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm now in my 30s and I really want to find someone. I haven't had a girlfriend. What am I doing?
Right. It's so interesting because I hear from a lot of women that it's like, where are the guys who are looking to date? Where are the guys who are actually looking for a relationship? But you work with a lot of them. Like
Yeah.
you are proof that there are many men out there looking for a relationship too.
Yeah.
And there's struggle on both sides,
Yeah, and I think that's something both men and women get wrong. They think the other person has it easier. The grass is always greener. And I preach that to guys, the men I work with often. Women have different challenges dating, but it doesn't mean that their challenges are less or that they have it easier. It's just, and I'd be curious if you agree, men's challenges is how do they stand out and how do they get women to notice them and realize that they are good partners. And for women, it's how do they sift through the noise and understand the difference of somebody who just wants to hook up or is actually going to treat them well and be a good partner.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on with the challenge. I think women, I'd love to hear what you think. I think the odds are stacked in women's favor in dating in general. Like we just have more power in choosing who to pay attention to and who to not pay
Mhm.
attention to.
Yeah.
Whereas that men have to stand out, like you said. But I think, yeah, women tend to focus on the wrong things.
Definitely
Yeah.
top of funnel, the women hold the power and the choice.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to go a little deeper into that. Like right now, 2024, what are you seeing as like the common issues for men in dating?
Yeah, so I would say one of the common issues that I see for men in dating is that they are too hyper focused online. They are putting all their eggs in the online basket and putting so much of their self worth and value and effort dating just into dating apps. And the reality is, dating apps aren't going to be good for everyone. They say a very small percentage of people on dating apps are the ones getting all of the likes. I don't disagree with that, but I do think there are oftentimes things we can do to make a great profile so you do get some matches and some likes, but putting all of your effort or relying on that solely is a huge mistake. And I think
Agree.
in 2024, we've just become so reliant on our phones for everything. You want food, you do it on your phone. You want a car, you do it on your phone. You want tickets to something, you get them on your phone. You want a date, you
Yeah.
get it on your phone. And that's not necessarily, and in most cases, it's not the best way to find a date or a girlfriend.
So true. I always say like dating apps are supplemental. They're not necessarily the
Yes.
only way. I mean, even for me, yeah, I agree. Like it's a very small percentage of people getting a lot of attention on the apps and everyone else just like, what the hell? Which is
Hmm.
why I'm always trying to encourage women to broaden their horizons a little bit and not stop overlooking the mediocre profiles because that's where the good guys are hiding, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I'm hoping I'm like getting some of those mediocre profiles up a notch for the good guys out there. Whenever I have an opportunity to speak to women on a podcast like this, I'm like, please, like, give the guy who seems just a little nice, a little too nice, a little dorky, give him the second date. Oftentimes, my clients hear she said she didn't feel a spark or there wasn't chemistry. And so I work with them on how they can help create more chemistry on dates and help a woman see that there, is potential there and that she's feeling butterflies and some sparks. But it's hard on a first date. Both parties are oftentimes nervous, especially the guy. If he doesn't feel like he goes on a lot of dates, if he feels like, oh, I'm really excited about this, it's hard. So I always encourage both men and women, but I think especially women need to hear this. Like, give that nice guy a chance. Give him
Yes.
that if he's a nice guy, even if you don't feel like it's a romantic connection, take the second date. That can build over time and he'll be so much more relaxed on a second or third date. And that chemistry can start to build and really show itself.
Yes, and that's advice I followed with my fiance. Like I was very neutral on the first and second date. And
Yeah,
then
I
the
hear
third
that a lot
date,
from women who
I
then
was
end up
like,
getting married.
you're right, yeah. On the third date, I was like, went into it thinking, okay, if I don't feel anything by the end of this date, I'm just gonna cut it off here. But obviously I did. It did show
Yeah.
something and it worked out. But I was honestly like really equally as excited for the activity we were doing than hang out with him because we were going to see a comedy show and get sushi. Like, why would I ever not be excited for that? So I would say, yeah, I agree with you saying, like, give it a second chance, do activities you like so that at least there's that,
Yeah.
at the very least. I think you're spot on. So, okay, going off that, what are some other pieces of advice you want to give to women, especially women who are dating your clients? You
Yeah,
have the
yeah. I
mic.
mean, yeah, so definitely give it time to build, give the excitement, a chance to gain momentum. I would also say like give him the benefit of the doubt. Guys are really bad at texting. Like guys suck at texting. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. I have a course that's just on like teaching guys how to text, and I still have clients who literally spend a lot of money to work with me one on one, and like I have been teaching, and then they'll send me their text messages, and I'm like, what? Why did you say this? Like, what made you type those words and then press send? Like,
Aw.
why? So, and it's not that, and it's just like too long of a text explaining too much. Like, didn't text her back for 2 days because he forgot, or like someone told him he shouldn't. And it's like, no, so as these women, if you're like, this guy's an idiot via text, just like know that, yeah, he might be an idiot on text, but that doesn't mean he's not interested or that you shouldn't like give him another date. And like usually, in a like further along in a relationship, the communication gets figured out and everyone figures out each other, and that becomes a little easier. But I think early on, especially, that's something guys struggle with.
I know. And women put so much weight into texting. And I'm not working with people one-on-one, but I always do like a one-on-one kind of email questions stuff. And I would say over half are about texting. And I'm always telling the folks, please just go meet in person, focus on the in-person interaction. If they're texting you consistently and making plans, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Like,
What are their concerns? What are like the women's questions about texting? Like, should I say this, or like what does he mean?
it's more what does he mean? Or like, oh, our dates are so fun, but he's not texting. Or
Mm.
like he said on the date he would make a plan, but then he's not making a plan and we're just chatting. Like, and you
Mhm.
have so many reels about this. Like I would say this is one of your most popular reel topics from my point of view is like, guys, stop chatting, go make a plan.
Yes.
So you've got that covered. But I'm trying to help women be more like, you can initiate the plan too. That's not
Yeah.
going to scare someone who likes you away. You
No. Oh
can't
my
screw it
God. My
up.
guys would be so excited if you initiated a plan.
Exactly. So I think the texting tangles people up a lot. Yeah.
I also think something men and women do, and I get frustrated when I like will talk to my girlfriends who say they want a partner and say like, "Oh, I really want, husband material. Someone's going to be a good father for my children." And then they'll put on, cuz I do some matchmaking, they'll put on their intake form as a deal breaker, must have a full head of hair. And I'm like, "What? What planet does him having a full head of hair affect whether he's going to be an amazing husband or a really good dad?" That is so superficial.
If you're
And
watching
I get
YouTube right
you
now,
have
I'm
to be
shaking my head.
attracted
I'm
to
like,
somebody.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, no.
You need to
Sorry.
be attracted to somebody. You need to have that physical attraction. But if that's a deal breaker before you even meet somebody, like take a date with someone a hot baldy. Like there's a lot of attractive men without hair.
Yeah, especially when they own it, right? And it's not like the halfway and they shave their head
No.
or do like the short. It's so attractive. I'm
I'm
into it personally.
I'm also preaching, I'm always preaching shave your head. Like
Yeah.
don't hold on to the half bald. Like that's like a okay, no. But if you just own it and rock it, like there is nothing wrong with being bald. And now I'm like, well, these guys listening are like, oh, well, these women are saying they don't want bald. I'm like, you don't want those women anyway.
Yeah, no, you don't. You really don't. It does not matter. And it's like I remember getting back onto the apps at age 29 and my rage was like into like men in their 30s. And I was like, oh, okay, so the guys now like just don't, they just have less hair. Cool.
Yeah.
Like that's just it. Like that's just part of it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Most
other
of them are
women.
going to end up bald eventually. So at least you're getting a sneak peek into your future.
Yes, I love that. So women need to guys a break with the texting. You need to be more open-minded with certain like physical, like surface level things.
Yeah.
What about in early dating? Like, where do you think women are kind of screwing up? Because another issue that comes up from my audience is like things are going well, and then all of a sudden the guy just poofs, gone, or changes his mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's funny because I hear that from my clients all the time too. I think that is just the nature of dating is people change their minds. And
Yeah.
and like you can't do anything about someone changing their mind. What you can do is remember that there are a million things that have nothing to do with you as to why this person changed their mind. Their ex got back to them. They're an avoidant attached person. Their grandmother died. They're busy with work. They have anxiety or depression. There's just so many reasons that have nothing to do with you. And even if it does have to do with you, one of the number one things you should be looking for as a man or a woman in a partner is this person excited to be with me? So as soon as a
Mhm.
person isn't excited to be with you, that should be the biggest turnoff right there.
Agree.
And I know it's easier said than done. Like we inherently care what others think about us, but the more that you can separate, your relationships or like your outcomes in early dating with your self-worth and like seeking validation, the more successful you will be dating and the happier and more fun you will have dating.
Preach. I mean, that's basically what my whole podcast is about.
Okay, great.
Yeah, glad we're on the same page there. I wanna go back to something you said earlier about what you help men with, which is, like, building more of that chemistry and connection because, like, women will say, "Oh, I didn't feel it." And I think the women I talk to also receive that text as well. I'm just curious, like, what are some of the tips that you give to build that connection on dates for someone who often hears that they don't have the connection?
Yeah, yeah. So I really have never even thought about this from a woman's perspective. So I'd be curious what you say to your women. But what I tell my guys is there's a few things. One is initiating physical contact. So if you don't touch this person for the hour that you're meeting or the 2 hours that you're meeting, this is a meeting, not a date.
Mm.
I'm not expecting PDA on a first date, but give her a hug when she arrives to feel familiar. Kiss her on the cheek, help her with her jacket, pull out her chair for her, touch her back as your guys are sitting down. Emphasize a point by touching her hand. Hands and elbows are very safe places
Mm.
to touch. If you want to escalate a little, maybe then it's the knee or it's a shoulder. And then obviously pay attention to how she reacts. Does she touch you back? Does she lean in? Great. Does she look like a deer in headlights or move backwards? Okay, cut it off. Like maybe she's not someone comfortable with physical touch. But my recommendation is always to initiate some amount of physical touch.
I love
Second
that.
is conversations. And I think this is something that at least I find many men struggle with is especially when they're nervous. And so, like, women give them the benefit of the doubt here as well. They will feel nervous. So they're just rifling through questions and they're keeping everything very surface level rather than asking, how do you feel about that? Getting deeper into one specific topic to get to the feeling behind it or the motivation behind it. So
Mhm.
sometimes I find that men who can be good conversationalists and they do care. It's not that they don't care about these things on a first date, will forget all of their conversation skills and keep everything really surface level, which is not a recipe for feeling
Right.
any sort of chemistry.
It's so interesting. So I definitely been on that date where like the
Hmm.
rifling through questions. I've also been on the other date. I know many women listening can relate where the guy asks no questions and it is extremely disappointing. And you feel like on the other side of that, like you're carrying the entire conversation on your back. So why do you think this is a question for later, but it's going on now. Why do you think this happens when guys just don't ask any questions?
Uh, they're clueless. Their conversation skills are lacking. I think women, we are raised and we are just conditioned to make other people feel good and to make other people feel comfortable. And part of facilitating that is asking questions. And men aren't necessarily programmed or conditioned that same way growing up. And they're accustomed to being asked questions and being the focal point. And that's not
It's
always the case, but
yeah.
I think that does like women definitely tend to be better conversationalists and asks more questions. Also, just scientifically, women were better readers of emotion. There's been studies where they show men and women people's facial expressions like in photos, and women are way better at understanding what that person's emotion is based on their face, and even more areas. I think it's like 15 areas of their brain light up,
Okay.
whereas a man, like 5 areas of his brain light up, and they're just, like, way worse at deciphering emotion on somebody else.
Yeah. Again, going back to giving them benefit of the doubt and also just having an acceptance of like some of these differences and like just be I always say just because someone doesn't ask a lot of questions doesn't mean they don't care. It doesn't mean they're bad at conversation. We can have a whole conversation without asking a single question, kind of going off each other. Um,
Yeah,
I always tell women they can tee up a guy to ask questions, be like, "Oh, I feel like I'm interrogating you. Like, do you want to know anything about me?"
I
Or,
love that.
or like, "I think it's your turn to ask me something." Like,
Yeah.
just something like that, and just you can do it in a playful way.
And if he
Yeah,
can't take that and he's, like, offended by that, then better to know now and move on. But most
100%.
guys, at least, like, guys who I think are worth dating would take that clue and be like, "Oh, I should, like, ask more questions." And again, like you said, it's not because they're so self-centered that they don't care, it's just that they might not be the best conversationalist on a date or when they're nervous.
Yeah, I also think guys tend to, like, wanna impress, so they end up talking a lot about themselves.
Mhm.
And women do
Yeah,
this
that's
too. I
something I
mean,
work on. I, like,
yeah.
I'm like, be an onion, let her peel back the layers over multiple dates. You don't need to share everything about you and your resume and where your trajectory is going and all of your hobbies on date one. Like, let her get to know you. You should be sharing just enough on a first date that she wants a second date to know more.
Yes. Amazing.
And
Well,
that
I'm
goes for
glad.
men and women. I
Yeah,
think people have the
100%.
tendency to overshare when they're nervous or, like you said, they want to impress somebody.
Yeah. No, it's all part of the process. Okay, so I wanna switch gears and talk about how you met your husband. Can you tell us a story?
Yeah, yeah. So I was living in San Francisco. I went to a workout class frequently called Berries. It's a boot camp style
I
hit
love
workout
berries.
class. Yeah, they have it in most major cities. Highly recommend it if there's a Berries near you. And I went a lot of days. I went most days, like 3 or 4 days a week. And I was hanging out in the lobby one day after class, just texting on my phone. And this guy walked up to me and was like, "Hey, I've seen you here before, so I wanted to introduce myself." And if you've been to Barry's, you know that the people who work there are exceptionally friendly and outgoing. And so my response to him was, "Oh, hi, do you work here?"
Oh, no.
And he was obviously mortified. And then, like, now he says, and he was like, no, we just took class together." And now I know he was like, "Yeah, we'd been taking class together for like 3 months."
Did you ever notice him before?
No.
Okay, so when he came up to you, you were on your phone. If he was your client, what
Hmm.
would you say? Because I feel like being on your phone is not necessarily the most open
Yeah. Well,
signal.
I didn't have headphones in, and
Okay,
I was just, like, loitering in the lobby, like, I wasn't I think everyone is always on their phone these days. If
right.
you said you could never talk to somebody if they're on their phone, you would have such slim opportunities to approach.
True. Okay, so just because someone's on their phone doesn't mean like if they're not actively talking on the phone,
Yeah, yeah,
and so
or
that doesn't
have,
mean
like,
that
I think headphones are a sort of a
right.
universal sign not to approach in most situations, but if
Yeah.
they're just looking at their phone, who knows, they're probably scrolling on Instagram or something.
Yeah, yeah, for
But
totally.
here's what he did well is we were at a workout. This is someplace, and he'd seen me there many times. So it wasn't like this was his one shot. We weren't walking opposite directions on the street or in this totally random bar. He knew he would have the opportunity to see me again. So explained that no, he didn't work there. Like, he'd just seen me in class, that had just taken class together, and he'd seen me around. So he just wanted to say hi. I was also embarrassed. I was like, I don't know, like, why I said that. Just, people who work there are really friendly. And then he was like, "Cool, nice meeting you," and left. And he went on his way, and that was that. But then I would see him in class, later that week or in future times. Like, so because he'd already introduced himself, we would say hi to each other. And if the opportunity presented itself before or after class, waiting to go in, we would chat. We would, talk about how our day was
Small
going,
talk.
what we had
Right.
upcoming that weekend. And then after we had chatted a few times, then he mentioned, "Oh, I'm having a housewarming party. You should come. It's this weekend, or it's like next weekend." And I was like, "Cool, I would love to." He gets out his phone, and in that moment, I remember I'm going to New York, and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I have a trip to New York planned." And he read that as, because he said, "Let me get your phone number," and I said, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to New York." And it really was that I remembered, "Oh, I can't come.
Yeah,
I'm going to New York."
genuine, right.
And in his mind, it was I didn't want to give my phone number because it was right at. So he said, "No worries, like, I'll see you around," puts his phone back in his pocket and walks away. And I was like, "Oh," and I read the situation too at that point. I was totally open to giving my phone number. I, like, just legitimately couldn't come to this party. So at that point, I knew that he had read it as like, okay, she shut me down. And he did the right thing in that situation, which is not press and just abort, especially because we're someplace we're going to see each other, continue to see each other. Two reasons there. You don't want to make it awkward if she doesn't want to if it's not a heck yes in a place you're going to see her again. Either of you are working, you both work there, the gym, then you walk away immediately. And then
Right.
secondarily, he knew there would be another opportunity. Like, if the situation was read wrong, it's not like he'd never see me again.
Right.
So he leaves. I know that he thinks I didn't want to give him my number. I was like, I think I saw maybe he started following me on Instagram. I had a personal account that was public at the time. So I looked at my Instagram followers. I was like, oh, there he is. Yeah, because we'd had discovered over talking that we had some mutual friends in common.
Right.
So then I DM'd him on Instagram and I said, like, oh, like, bummed I can't come to your party this weekend. Like, we should like hang out another time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Love that.
I went for it.
I love that you're breaking I love thanks for this very detailed breakdowns. I think this is where it gets it's a little mystifying. Like, how do people meet in person? And it's like you've described several blunders
Yeah.
on both sides, and it still works. Like, it's okay to have these mishaps. It's not over. It's not done. I mean, sometimes it is, right? If there's a
Yeah,
clear,
sometimes it
like,
is, but
if
you
there's
can
a clear,
course
like,
correct.
right, you can course correct, right? You can troubleshoot, like, you can figure it out. If two people wanna meet, it's like you want it to be in. So question, did you think he was cute, like, when he was talking to you, berries or attractive,
Yeah,
whatever?
and I loved his confidence and
Okay.
just that he, like, came up and talked to me. Like, he had a really good vibe. I mean, I think my husband is so handsome, and I, like, obviously love him. I married him, but candidly, I probably, if I saw his dating app profile, may not have swiped on it. Like, he's not Brad Pitt. He's good
Mhm.
looking, but I had been taking class with him for 3 months, and I hadn't noticed him.
Right, right.
So
Yeah,
he's
that's
not like
always
the guy who's the tallest, biggest, most charismatic, outgoing person. He's introverted. He's kind of quiet. He wears glasses. Like,
he probably spent, like, 6 weeks trying to muster up the courage to say hi to you.
yeah, oh yeah. He now he like obviously we talk about it a lot now. He's like, yeah, I'd been like watching you on the treadmill and like
Yeah.
I in the past I had seen opportunities in the past and not done it. And so when I was leaving and you were there, I was just like, I'm doing it. And
I mean, yeah, it's a lot. It takes a lot of nerve to do that because she also didn't know if you were single. I mean, probably saw if you were wearing a ring or not, but you probably weren't. But like again, what if you don't wear it when you work out? Like there are so many
yeah,
different little things. Like what if you weren't straight? Like what if it's
yeah,
just it's nice that he just like went in with that friendly approach. Like I'm just going to say hi, not attach the outcome, just saying hi to this woman I find attractive, whatever,
yeah.
and see
And
what
get to know
happens.
her over
Yeah,
talking
right.
multiple times.
Right, he didn't just, like, go like, did you ever feel like you had your guard up? 'Cause I think it's a lot of, like I know for me, there were some times, like, yeah, I don't always wanna be approached. Like, sometimes I wasn't having a great day or just, like, didn't feel like being approached or whatever. But did you ever feel like you had like, "Oh, I don't want this guy to talk to me right now."
No, no, and I think it's because he did it in like a very friendly and like kept it really short the first few times. Like
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong like with someone just saying, "Hey, I've seen you here, so I wanted to introduce myself." Like, "Cool, have a nice day, bye." It wasn't even like he was trying to get to know me then.
Right.
So he was
Right.
conscientious of that. And then I
Love
think
it.
the other important thing is like I was the one who messaged him first. And women should be more comfortable doing that because he might not be messaging you not because he's not interested, but just because he doesn't men are really at least the guys I work with are very conscientious. They don't want to cross boundaries. So especially if you meet at the gym or anywhere really, they are worried about coming off as creepy, the guys I work with are, and they don't want to overstep. So if you make that initial opener, like I hear guys all the time, like, I don't know, like she has my number, like or I don't want to take her number out of this like WhatsApp group that we're both in together, but we flirt a lot and she seems really into me, and they're so scared of making her feel uncomfortable or being too presumptuous. So if a woman, this is the other thing, like if you are interested in a guy, message him and then it'll be clear. He'll either pick up the bait and go for it or he won't. But taking that step can be like the, difference
Yes.
between something coming of it and something not.
Yes, agree, and people ask me, like, "How did you meet?" I went out with, like, over 60 people in 10 months, and they're like, "How did you do that?" It's like, "'Cause I approach first most of the time, and I actually love doing that because I get to pick who I wanna talk to versus only fielding incoming,
Yeah.
whatever, people who are approaching me. I wanna choose the guy I wanna talk to. I don't wanna just, like, have to choose from this small pool of guys who are paying attention to me.
Yeah.
So and I think women will have much higher success rate than guys,
Yeah.
unfortunately, if they just get over it.
Yeah. I'm the same way. And I'm pretty like confident, outgoing person, but I don't always feel that way.
Mhm.
I have plenty of things that I struggle with and I don't always feel confident and outgoing. But in my 20s, I lived in New York City. So ladies, if you want to approach a guy, you can use this trick. It's a sort of a cheat code because it requires absolutely no follow up. But I would write my number on like my name and number on a napkin, or I would use one of my business cards. And if there was a cute guy at a bar, I would wait till we were leaving and I would walk up and I would just say like, "Hey, my friends and I are taking off, but I think you're really cute. So if you want to hang out sometime, and like hand my number or my napkin. I've even like dropped it in someone's drink that was like empty and then like turn, and I would literally turn and walk away. I wouldn't even wait for a response because I was like too scared and I didn't want to talk. And it had like basically 100% success rate.
That's amazing. I mean, look, even if a guy was like married or in a relationship or again not straight, they would
Yeah.
probably made their day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And that's why I tell guys too. I'm like, if you approach a woman in a respectful way, she's still gonna be flattered.
Yeah, she's gonna tell her friends, like, oh my God, this
Yeah, this guy
guy.
approached me. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's like a little bit. I mean, guys could like do the number thing too. I say that's a very half court shot. Most of the time for women, you need to establish some trust. If you're not like, looking like Brad Pitt, you need to establish some trust and make a connection, or she's not going to text you. So I don't think that strategy is effective for men looking for women, but I think for women, like guys are like gonna take the text. They're gonna take
Yeah.
the date.
Yeah. Yeah. There's really no harm in like just texting. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing about dating apps, really anywhere where you're meeting someone. It's like, just because you talk to someone doesn't mean you're going to end up marrying them. It's just
Yeah.
a conversation. Like, you have to lower the stakes and break it down into these bite-sized interactions, then go from
Mhm.
there. It all builds on each other. Okay, a common question I get a lot from my listeners and audience is, how do I get a guy to ask me out? So again, what can women do to really, make that 95% a reality?
Yeah, yeah. Well, are they already texting? Is it from before they
Okay,
are like
how do I get a guy to approach me? So just basically do
uh
what your husband did. Like,
approach? Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Eye contact.
Mhm.
Give them the nonverbal cues. So I tell my clients to look for this. Eye contact and a smile. Take it one step further, give them a little wave. Like guys really need all of the reassurance because most of the time they're so scared of being creepy and so scared of intruding or, getting in your personal space. So give them the nonverbal cues, like have your body positioning be open, facing outward. If you're facing the bar, you're facing in, like you're sitting at a bar with your friend and you guys are facing just each other, it's much harder to approach. But if you turn your chair, so you're still talking to each other, but you're facing outward, you're much easier to walk up to.
It's so
So
funny because you're basically saying it's like you need to smack men over the head with a green light. But like the idea of like a wave feels so corny to me.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm
And
not gonna
also, like,
wave.
then what? Like, he either waves back and, like, is like, comes over or he doesn't, and it's, like, kind of funny. You can, like,
Yeah,
he's like, "Do we know each other?" And you're like, "I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I was just saying
yeah.
hi."
It's like you
I
kept
mean, I
looking at
think that
me, so
yeah,
yeah.
I think besides giving if you don't wanna be the one to approach, then it's the nonverbal cues. And, like,
Okay.
obviously, yeah, eye contact, smile, more subtle, but body positioning and, like, literally just waving is also
Yeah.
works.
Okay. All right. I mean,
I think
I think
for
again, it's simple, but it works.
yeah, and it's okay to be a little shameless.
I agree.
For both
Yes, it's
men and
fun.
women. Like, you're just being fun and flirty. You're not asking him to marry you. You're
Yeah,
not, like, telling
exactly.
him that, like, you're obsessed with him. You're having fun because, like, your life is fun. You're a fun person.
It's
You're,
a to me, it's the
interacting with
equivalent
people.
of like a swipe right.
Yes.
Which they
Yeah.
might not come over and talk to you, and you might not even have a fun conversation if they do.
Yeah. Yeah,
It might
totally.
actually suck.
And that's okay. One less person that you have to worry about it working out with. Because even if you wave, okay, he comes over and you have a crap conversation, that's going to be actually more fulfilling than you going home and being like, oh, that hot guy at the bar. Like, what if I had said hi? Like, pining over someone who you don't even know.
Right. Oh my God. Okay, let's say we're in the conversation, like we've successfully given each other the green light, we're talking. How, as a woman, do I get a guy to ask me out? What do you think?
So, what I tell my clients, and I think this applies for both men and women, is you can do a little forward thinking about where you're steering the conversation because some conversations are going to tee up dates or exchanging phone numbers more than others. If you're talking about, like an ailing grandparent or your crappy boss, first of all, it's not a fun, flirty conversation, but it also doesn't segue into getting a phone number very well. Whereas if you are even asking about what they're drinking, and you get into a conversation about your favorite drinks and your favorite bars, that can be a nice segue to, oh, well, why don't we check it out together? Or like, no, I haven't been there, but it sounds like I should go. You're teeing him up for being like, oh, well, like, let me get your number. I'll take you. So
Agree. Yeah, I
just
love this.
focusing on conversations that lead to dates.
Yeah. Yeah, I think food and drink, easiest topic. I used to be like, oh, I'm like not familiar with this neighborhood as much. Like, do you know anywhere? Like just kind of that kind of thing. Or like, oh, I'm kind of new to Seattle, something like that. Like, where do you go for that? Just like playing that up, even if you've been, or like, I'm looking for a new taco spot, like just something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like mine's
Asking for
closed.
recommendations for anything, even if it's like
Right.
music or like a song rec or a playlist rec, something that you connect over, that's even a reason like, oh, let me text it to you. And
Yes.
like an easy
Yes.
phone number
Yeah.
exchange.
It's like it's so funny because it's so simple when we talk about it, but in practice it can be really hard. So I just want to validate you, listener, if you're like, this sounds so complicated. It's like conversation juggling, because you're doing two things at once. Like you're steering a conversation, but you're also trying to connect and be present. It's a lot. It's a lot to like
Yeah.
hold up in the
No,
air.
it is a lot, and that's why the more conversations you can have, the better, because it's absolutely something that gets easier with practice. And you'll notice, and I think this especially applies to online conversations, you'll notice that there are certain topics or certain like conversation paths that lead really seamlessly to a date. Especially I tell my guys like they should be leading the conversation, so they should lead it. There's certain things that show up in women's profiles: dogs, pizza, wine. These are things like figure out the conversational path that will lead to a date from those topics.
Right. I rolled my eyes when you said that because dogs, pizza, wine is just so cliche. And I'd love to hear from you really quick. Just what are some of the biggest frustrations of your clients using the apps on women's profiles? Like, what can a listener do right
Yeah.
now and change on their
Yeah.
profile?
Nothing to respond to. So
Yeah.
tee up, like ask a question or say something that gives them something to reply to that can actually facilitate a conversation. Also, I'd say that's the number one thing guys complain about. Yeah, just not having things to talk about. That's really the only thing I think guys can complain about. I feel like guys don't really complain about women's photos. Like women are usually like much better at picking photos.
Right.
Maybe sometimes like, oh, I can't get like a good sense of what she looks like. But that's more I feel like women to men.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's both sides. I think for some folks who may not feel as confident about what they look like, or they have one specific thing they're insecure about, there is like this inclination to cover it up or like disguise it. But then it's like they're going to see you. They're going to meet you in real
Yeah.
life. They're going to know whatever it is. So you might as well just show accurate but good pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Or if there's something that is going to be immediately apparent, like, I don't know, like you walk with a cane, or obviously if you're in a wheelchair, or like your weight, for example, I completely agree. And I tell my clients, just get ahead of it because she's either going
Yeah.
to like you or she's not. And I think there's often times where women would be happy to go on a date with you, but if she feels deceived, if she shows up to the date and she feels like she's been tricked, or then it feels like, okay, if you're dishonest about this, what else are you dishonest about?
Yeah, no, I think that's a general for all online dating. If you show up to the date and something is completely inaccurate, it's no matter how the date goes, it's really hard to move forward from that. It's just better. You're gonna be more successful if you just have accurate information.
Yeah. I once had a girlfriend who showed up on a date and the guy was using a cane to walk, and she was like, how did I miss this? And she went back to, and they actually had a good date and they went on a few more, but she went back to his profile, and looking at his profile, he like had a photo of him dancing on the dance floor with it above his head, but like it just looked like a stick. And he
Oh.
had it like poking up in like a corner of like one photo. So he
Uh,
had done just enough where you couldn't like call him on like, hey, you're like hiding this, but it also wasn't
yeah.
apparent.
I once went out with a guy who I don't know what it was, but there was something with his hand. Okay, it was just like I don't know what it was. Whatever, I didn't see it on his profile. When we met, he was standing even in a way. And I'm like, maybe this is the way this guy naturally stands because he's insecure. But he was like kind of with his one shoulder back to like hide his hand behind his body. And it's like he was really nice and we had a
Did
lot
he
to
bring
connect
it
on.
up?
No, it was clearly
Oh.
something like some, I don't know, ailment or something he was born with. I don't know, but either way, he was like a good-looking, like great dude, but it just was weird because I felt did feel like, okay, why didn't I not know about this? Not that it mattered. It's just like it's on the table.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
think in that case, I'd be curious of your opinion. I don't think you need to like be holding it up for a photo in his dating app, but I think giving you a heads up before the date, even like, hey, by the way, you might not be able to tell my profile, but I have like XYZ. So I don't have a great use of my right hand. It doesn't
Right.
affect my day-to-day life, but it's something that you'll notice when we meet up.
That would've been great. Like, I would not have been like, "Oh, no, I can't date you." What? Like,
Yeah.
No,
or
no,
in
no.
person. Because like, okay, now this is what I tell my clients, like she's going to assume the worst, like she's writing some story in her head about this thing. So if you just need to get in front of it, and if you have a clear, concise, confident talk track on whatever it is, it's your divorce, it's that you have kids, it's that you have this ailment or this disability, the truth is going to be way better than probably whatever she's scripted in her head because you haven't told her about it. So you might
Agree.
as well get ahead of it.
Yes. Well, okay, I have a little game for you.
Okay.
I am calling this segment Man Translator, also known as Manslater. So I had my audience write in, like, what does it mean when a man blank? So I'm
Okay,
gonna
I'll
read
do my
some to you. I
best.
know, I know. This is for fun. We know that you don't, we know that Blaine does not speak for all men, okay? Okay, well, here's like a classic. What does it mean on their dating profile if they say they're looking for long-term relationship open to short? Or
I
the other
think
end.
I think it means exactly that. I think it means for the right person, he wants a long-term relationship eventually, but he's also okay with having sex with you, even if you're not it in the long term.
Okay, that makes sense. What does it mean if he broke up with me because he was quote unquote trying too hard, but he's open to trying again in the future?
He broke up with me because he said he was trying too hard, but he's open to it again in the future. It means he doesn't know what he wants and he wants to like step back and play the field.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, I'm like trying too hard.
I don't know. It means he's
Why?
not like ready for I don't know like what that means, but
Yeah.
at the very least he's not trying to make it work right now, which means you should move on and not hold your breath for the future.
Okay. This is another classic. Like any version of if on a profile or in person they say, I want a relationship, but let's just see where it goes.
They think they want a relationship, but they aren't at a place where they're actively pursuing that. And they probably, depending on how many dates you've been on, don't see you as, they're not at least convinced that you're that person.
Yeah, I saw this on the dating apps a lot where it's like they write their goals are a long-term relationship, but then they write underneath like, let's just meet and see where it goes. And my interpretation is that they're scared of saying if they want a relationship that they're going to immediately get into one with like the wrong person or something.
I also think on the dating app, if they say that on the app, they might be trying to communicate, let's meet up and like
Hmm.
see, which like is
Right.
what you're doing on a date, but they just don't know what to say on the dating app and they don't want to communicate, they don't want to like text forever on the dating app. So like, let's just meet up and see, which is
Right.
literally why you're there.
What does it mean if he ignores me every time I ask to get my stuff back from him?
Oh. Like I mean I need a little more context
Yeah,
here,
no,
but it sounds
I'm
like
just throwing weird ones out there.
you might need to just like get new stuff.
Yeah, I know. What's the cutoff? Like
Yeah, like cut
two
your losses.
months?
Like, yeah, I think like you ask twice, maybe a third Hail Mary and communicate like, hey, I'm not trying to like reignite anything. If you could just like put your like X, Y, Z outside, or like I can swing by any night this week. Like, let me know.
Yeah, I agree. What does it mean if he won't make it official with me on Facebook, but I've met his parents?
Why like I don't even think I'm official with my husband on
I'm not
Facebook.
either. I'm not even friends with my fiance on Facebook. I don't
Yeah.
think.
I don't know if I like I would be I'm kind of like curious why you feel like you need that public display, but also it's like if you guys are Facebook people and he's like won't do it, that also feels a little sketchy.
I agree. Okay, a few more. Okay, this is a classic one. He says he's not interested, but he keeps watching my stories and responding to them, like hearting or like DMing.
He's breadcrumbing.
Okay, what does that mean?
He wants to keep you interested in him, but he doesn't have the intention of doing anything. And I would
Got
say if
that
he's
today.
watching your story and not responding, it means nothing. I had this the other day with my husband where like a celebrity watched my story and I was like, oh my God, this person watched my story. What do you think it means? And my husband's like, it means nothing. Like it means he was clicking through Instagram.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. I agree. But yeah, if they're reacting, if they're hearting or like DMing or like emoji
Like
reaction
trying
or
to bait
something,
you.
yeah, horrible. Okay, what about if he's flirting with me via text or in person, but not making a move? Like not making a physical move or not asking me out.
Yeah, I don't like it obviously depends. It could be also a breadcrumb situation where he wants the attention but like isn't actually interested in taking things further. And so with a man or a woman, I say like the move there is take the reins and take the lead and say like, I'm enjoying this conversation, but why don't we like get together in person, or why don't we move it over drinks?
Mhm.
Or are you gonna keep flirting with me, or are you gonna try and kiss me? Like, so you can like just
Yeah.
be cheeky and call it out.
I agree. Sometimes you have to be the one to, like, tip it over. You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, and it's gonna
Yeah.
go one way or the other, but like, do you really want to keep flirting with this person if it's not gonna go anywhere?
Yeah. Well, this has been great. I like the segment. Thank you for playing along.
Yeah, I loved it. It was fun.
So before we wrap up, the last question is that I have for everyone is, what do you want to see more of in dating culture?
I want to see more people just taking chances in person. So that means like both talking to more people, just people generally, getting out from behind your phone, going on a walk, going out, leaving your phone at home, engaging with those around you. But then also taking more chances on people maybe who don't check your exact boxes that you thought you wanted in a partner. Just go for it. Like take another date, like kiss them, like see where it can lead.
Love it. Thank you so much for everything. Where can we find you? Where can we get more Blaine?
Yeah, I am easy. I am dating by Blaine, Blaine, across all social Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and datingbyblaine.com.
Thank you so much for this conversation and shedding all the light on the behavior of men. This has been great.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.